AITA for asking my dad to repay promised medical bills? I was sitting at the kitchen table last week, staring at yet another bill I couldn't pay, when my dad stormed in and snapped. "Marissa, what's with that long face again? Don't start with the money talk." He didn't even let me say a word before rolling his eyes like I was a nuisance in my own home. That was the moment I felt something snap inside me. I said, "Dad, you promised me you'd cover these medical expenses. You always promised. Do you know how much you owe me now?" He slammed his hand on the counter and shouted, "Don't you dare talk to me about owing you anything. I'm your father. I don't owe you a damn cent. What I do for you is out of kindness." Out of kindness. That word felt like a slap, because what he called kindness was me skipping meals, me counting coins on my bed late at night, me lying to my friends about why I couldn't join them for dinner. It was humiliation dressed up as generosity. I tried to stay calm. I told him I wasn't asking for charity, just for him to follow through on what he himself had promised. I even pulled out my little notebook, the one where I've kept track of every unpaid bill. I wasn't waving it in his face, just holding it so he could see I wasn't exaggerating. He looked at it like it was poison. "So now you're keeping records? Like I'm some kind of criminal? Do you know how disgusting that is, Marissa? You're my daughter. I'm ashamed of you." My chest tightened. I wanted to shout back, but instead I whispered, "I'm ashamed, too, of having to beg for help from my own father." That's when he completely lost it. He called me ungrateful, selfish, manipulative. He said, "No wonder you can't stand on your own 2 feet. You're too busy playing victim. Your sisters don't complain. Your sisters don't act like parasites." Parasite. The word cut deep, especially because my sisters, with their stable jobs, never had to rely on him the way I do. He holds that over me, like their independence is proof I'm a failure. I snapped. I told him that while my sisters can afford to cover everything themselves, I never had the same opportunities. My health, the endless appointments, the extra costs. I wasn't wasting money, I was surviving. But he just smirked. "Always an excuse, huh? Always a reason you're special. Maybe if you stopped whining and actually worked harder, you wouldn't need me at all." My hands were shaking so badly, I nearly dropped the notebook. I shouted back, "You think I want this? You think I like depending on you? Do you have any idea how humiliating it is for me to keep reminding you of promises you never keep?" The room went silent for a moment, and I thought maybe he'd finally listen. But then he laughed, a cold, mocking laugh, and said, "If it's so humiliating, stop asking. Problem solved." I felt like the floor disappeared under me. All those years of him telling me, "Your health is on me," suddenly crumbled into nothing but lies. And the worst part? He knows I can't just walk away. He knows I don't have a secret stash of money to fall back on. He uses that power to twist things around and make me feel like I'm the one betraying him. That night, I went to my room and cried harder than I had in months. Not just because of the money, but because of how he made me feel, like I was a burden, like my existence itself was some kind of inconvenience. Every time I think about bringing it up again, I hear his voice in my head. Parasite, ungrateful, ashamed. The words stick to me like glue. But deep down, there's another voice. A quieter one that says, "He does owe me. He promised. It's not selfish to want what's mine." And yet, the guilt keeps creeping in. Last night, I reached a point I didn't think I ever would. I had been holding it in for months, carefully calculating every payment, keeping a private tally of what I was owed, biting my tongue every time my father dismissed me. But something in me snapped. My frustration, exhaustion, and humiliation built until I couldn't contain it anymore. I opened WhatsApp and typed a message that I'd been rehearsing in my head for weeks. I listed every appointment I had covered, every euro I'd scraped together, every small payment I'd made out of my own pocket while waiting for him to honor his promises. I explained how I'd been rounding amounts down to make it easier for him, how the uncertainty of not knowing when or if he'd pay back was gnawing at me every day, and how the pressure was starting to affect my health, my sleep, and my work. I told him clearly, I wasn't asking for everything at once, just a plan, a recognition that what he owed me was real. I hit send. My hands shook. My chest felt heavy. My stomach churned. I waited. I stared at the screen, counting minutes, hoping for a reply that would show understanding. Hours passed. No response. Then, a notification. He had added my sisters to a family group chat, and me too, initially, and typed a long, scathing message. He wrote that I was attacking him over money, that I didn't understand how hard he worked, and that my repeated requests were ungrateful, selfish, and cruel. "You don't abandon your family when they're struggling," he typed, as if my existence was supposed to revolve around his comfort and pride. I read it and felt a hot, sinking mix of anger and humiliation. This wasn't just a disagreement about money anymore. He had publicly shamed me. He had made me the villain in front of my sisters, twisting the narrative so it seemed like I was wrong for asking for what I had been promised. chest. Alina, my oldest sister, immediately fired back. She wrote in all caps, her words sharp and unflinching. Dad, stop. Marissa has been struggling while you do nothing. She asked for what you promised. How is that attacking you? I could feel her anger through the screen. Another sister chimed in cautiously, trying to mediate, but my father was relentless. He replied with biting sarcasm, saying that I had always been the difficult one, that I was never satisfied, and that if I wanted the money, maybe I should consider how little I contributed to the family's sacrifices over the years. The humiliation cut deep. His words felt like slaps in front of my sisters, who, up until then, had seen me as calm, patient, and responsible. The chat went silent for a while, like the calm before a storm. Then, just as quickly as it started, it ended for me. I was removed from the group entirely. No warning, no explanation. Just gone. My sisters were still in the chat, but I was excluded, cut off from any chance to explain myself or defend my position. I tried calling him immediately, but there was no answer. I texted my mom, desperate for some support, but her reply was cold and dismissive. She told me I was pushing too hard and that I should be patient, that I was making things worse by standing up for myself. Her words felt like betrayal. I had expected her to understand, to back me up after all these years, but instead, she turned the blame onto me. All morning, I stared at my phone, feeling the silence pressing in like a weight on my chest. I felt anger, shame, and despair all at once. The fight had spiraled beyond money. It was now a battle of pride, a war of humiliation, a public display of how my father could twist reality to make me seem unreasonable. My sisters didn't know the full extent of the payments I had made out of my own pocket. They didn't know the countless nights I had skipped meals or said no to friends just to save for appointments he had promised to cover. And now, because I had dared to ask, I was being painted as ungrateful, difficult, and disloyal. I couldn't focus on work, I couldn't eat properly, and the tension in my chest wouldn't let me rest. I felt like I was standing on a cliff, balancing between rage and despair, unsure of how to survive the humiliation and the weight of a family that had turned against me for asking for what was mine. The fight was over words, but the damage ran deeper. The silence from my dad was louder than any insult, and the way my mom had sided with him left me questioning everything I thought I knew about my family. I didn't just feel frustrated. I felt erased, publicly humiliated, and painfully alone. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about respect, recognition, and the right to stand up for myself without being shamed or silenced.
You are not AITA here. Asking someone to honor promises, especially around essential medical expenses, is not selfish, it's asserting your right to support and fairness. Your dad weaponized guilt and shame to control you, which is emotionally abusive. Skipping meals and counting coins while waiting for him to act is survival, not entitlement. Your sister's independence doesn't diminish your struggles, and their ability to manage doesn't make you a parasite. Honestly, your frustration is justified. You handled it with documented clarity and calmness before being attacked. His public shaming and your exclusion from the group chat show he's prioritizing pride over family responsibility. Your mom siding with him adds to the toxic dynamic, but it doesn't make you wrong. Takeaway: insisting on promises being kept, especially when they affect your health, is reasonable. Protect your boundaries, keep evidence of agreements, and lean on supportive family or friends outside this toxic cycle. Humor aside, surviving on your own with bills piling up shouldn't feel like an Olympic sport. You've already won a medal just by standing up. Bottom line, not AITA. You are owed respect and support. Before we jump into the next story, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know your favorite part in the comments.
AITA for keeping a record of our arguments to protect myself. I'm 23 and my boyfriend, Adrian, is 30. We've been together almost 2 years, and on the surface, people see a happy couple. But behind closed doors, it's been a storm I can't always weather. Over and over, the same pattern keeps repeating itself, and it's leaving me drained, frustrated, and questioning myself in ways I never thought possible. It started small, with little dismissals. He'd say something hurtful in passing, maybe a joke that cut too deep, or a critique that stung. And when I tried to bring it up later, he would deny it. That doesn't sound like me, he'd say, his tone calm but defensive. Or, tell me one time I've done that. If I couldn't recall the exact moment, he'd shrug, leaning back, as if my feelings were invalid simply because I couldn't remember the timestamp. Then it probably didn't happen, he'd add casually, like it was my imagination. I started doubting myself, wondering if I was overreacting, imagining things, being too sensitive. But deep down, I knew what had been said, and the constant denial made me feel small, as if my own memory and perception were untrustworthy. Months went by like this. I'd confront him gently, trying to explain how his words affected me, only to meet resistance, confusion, or gaslighting. Each confrontation ended in frustration or tears. I felt invisible in my own experiences, trapped in a cycle where I was either wrong, too sensitive, or deliberately trying to pick fights. Finally, quietly. After what felt like the 100th time of feeling dismissed, I decided to take action, not to punish him, not to prove him wrong, but simply to protect myself. I told him I was going to start keeping notes. I explained it carefully, even trying to reassure him that this wasn't about collecting evidence to attack him. It was about clarity, about having a record for times when he genuinely could not remember his words. I told him it was a tool for both of us, so we could navigate our conversations without spiraling into endless, I didn't say that, arguments. The first time I actually used the notes, it was over a small comment he made, something he said that hurt me deeply. Later, when we were trying to discuss it, he asked me, when exactly did I say that? My heart sank, but I opened my notebook, showed him the page, and asked if what I had written was accurate. He studied it, his jaw tight, then finally muttered, "Yeah, that sounds like something I said." Relief should have washed over me, but instead, the tension in the room thickened. Later that evening, the confrontation escalated. He told me flatly that he didn't like me keeping the notebook. He said it felt like I was spying on him, keeping a file of mistakes to use against him at will. "It makes me feel like a criminal," he said, his voice rising. "You're treating me like I'm hiding something, like I can't be trusted. Do you want to ruin everything we have?" I tried to stay calm, but the words stung. I reminded him that I wasn't just recording his actions. I was writing down my own, too. The notebook wasn't a weapon, it was a mirror, a way for both of us to reflect. "I'm trying to keep us accountable," I said. "Not to punish you, not to humiliate you. It's just so we can actually remember things and communicate properly. If you really want to work through issues, it should help, not hurt." He didn't see it that way. His face darkened, and he started throwing insults I hadn't heard before. He accused me of being obsessive, controlling, paranoid, even manipulative. He said, "If you're going to write everything down, it means you don't trust me. It means you think I'm lying all the time. Maybe you're just looking for a reason to be angry." Every word felt like a punch. I was shocked that the simple act of taking notes, something I hoped would make us stronger, was now twisted into evidence of my failings. The argument spiraled further. He mocked the notebook itself, flipping it open and flicking through pages, saying, "Look at this. You're treating me like a villain. Do you enjoy humiliating me?" I felt my chest tighten, my throat burn. I wasn't trying to humiliate him. I was trying to survive the constant gaslighting, to stop feeling like my memory and perception were invalid. As the night dragged on, the insults grew sharper. He called me petty, bitter, and insecure. He told me I was turning our home into a courtroom. "You're obsessed with proof," he spat. "Proof that I'm a bad partner. And you'll use it anytime you want." I tried to speak, to explain, but every sentence was interrupted, twisted, or belittled. I felt small, isolated, and misunderstood in ways I hadn't expected from someone I loved. By the end of the night, we were both exhausted and on edge. I was holding the notebook to my chest, trembling, feeling both guilty and righteous at the same time. I realized I was caught in a paradox. If I didn't keep the notes, I would lose my grip on reality, lose the ability to trust my own memories. But by keeping them, I was accused of cruelty, control, and manipulation. Now, I'm left in a state of confusion and tension. Part of me feels cold, obsessive, maybe even cruel for keeping track of everything. Another part of me feels justified, as though this is the only way to protect myself from feeling like I'm fading away in the fog of denial. I want to confront this with patience, with communication, but the more I try, the more he sees it as an attack, a judgment, a personal humiliation. Every day since then, the atmosphere is heavy. I feel the weight of unsaid words and unacknowledged feelings pressing down. I catch myself second-guessing, even bringing up small issues, afraid it will spark another cascade of insults. I question my motives constantly. Am I keeping these notes because I distrust him, or because I've been forced into a position where my only choice is to document reality to survive? I don't know what the next step should be. I feel trapped between self-preservation and love, between clarity and the chaos of misremembered words. The tension hums in the air constantly, like a storm ready to erupt, and every conversation is laced with fear, anticipation, and doubt. I'm left wondering, am I really in the wrong for keeping a record of our conversations to protect my own sense of reality? Or is this a necessary step to safeguard myself in a relationship where I often feel unseen, unheard, and invalidated? Am I the AITA?
You're not the AITA here. Keeping notes to preserve your own clarity and sanity isn't manipulation, it's self-preservation. Gaslighting distorts reality, and when your memories are constantly questioned, having a reference point is practical, not cruel. Adrian's reaction frames your protective measure as a personal attack, but that's classic deflection. It's not obsessive to safeguard your mental health, it's wise. The problem isn't your notebook, it's the pattern of denial and blame. If anything, you're trying to anchor truth in chaos. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Got a story to share? Drop it in the comments and let us know which one was your favorite. If you enjoyed this video, you'll definitely want to check out AITA for ignoring my parents' feelings. Click here to watch it now.